Before we begin, an important clarification. This video discusses a real criminal case involving serious violence and loss of life. Nothing in this video is intended to glorify the person responsible, normalize harm, or sensationalize tragedy. This is a factual, educational breakdown focused on verified information, legal process, and the broader cultural context surrounding how certain cases become distorted online. The goal here is understanding, not fascination. Context, not spectacle. Reality, not myth. With that framing in place, this is a structured explanation of the Wade Wilson case, the confirmed timeline, the legal charges and proceedings, and how online infamy has reshaped public perception in ways that deserve serious examination. In recent years, some criminal cases have taken on a second life online. Through social media platforms, forums, and viral posts, individuals accused or convicted of violent crimes are sometimes turned into characters rather than criminals. Memes, nicknames, edited images, and commentary can obscure the reality of harm behind a carefully curated online persona. The Wade Wilson case is one such example. Much of the online conversation surrounding this case has focused not on legal facts or victims, but on appearance-based commentary, exaggerated nicknames, and fictional comparisons. This framing has led to widespread misunderstanding of what the case actually involves. This video deliberately moves away from that lens. To understand what happened, we begin with what is verified. Wade Wilson is a real individual involved in a criminal case in the United States. He is not a fictional character, and comparisons to fictional figures are part of the distortion that has clouded public understanding. Prior to the crimes for which he was charged, Wilson lived an ordinary civilian life. There is no verified evidence that he held public influence, celebrity status, or notable prominence before the case became widely discussed. Understanding this matters because online portrayals often retroactively construct a persona that did not meaningfully exist before the crimes themselves. The justice system does not evaluate personas. It evaluates actions, evidence, and responsibility. The charges against Wade Wilson stem from acts of extreme violence, resulting in the deaths of 2 women. These acts occurred during a specific period and location, confirmed by law enforcement investigation. Out of respect for the victims and their families, this video will not detail the manner of violence beyond what is legally necessary to understand the case. What matters for context is this: 2 lives were lost. The crimes were separate but closely connected in time. Investigators identified Wilson as the primary suspect based on evidence. Law enforcement conducted a standard investigative process, which included scene analysis, collection of forensic evidence, interviews and statements, reconstruction of movements and timelines. From the beginning, the case was treated as a serious criminal matter, not an anomaly or mystery with unclear responsibility. Following the investigation, Wade Wilson was arrested and formally charged. The charges included multiple counts of first-degree murder, additional charges related to the circumstances of the crimes. First-degree murder charges indicate allegations of intentional, premeditated killing under U.S. law. These charges carry the most severe legal penalties. At this stage in any criminal case, it is critical to separate charges from convictions. The legal process exists precisely to determine guilt through evidence and due process. However, the seriousness of the charges reflected the strength of the evidence as assessed by prosecutors. Once charges were filed, the case entered the judicial phase. This involved pretrial hearings, evidence review, motions from defense and prosecution, evaluation of witness testimony. Court proceedings in high-profile murder cases often take extended periods of time. This is due to the volume of evidence, the severity of potential sentencing, and the need to ensure constitutional protections are upheld. Throughout this process, the focus of the court remained on establishing facts, determining responsibility, applying the law, not public opinion. While online discourse intensified, legal proceedings continued methodically, largely unaffected by social media narratives. Ultimately, the judicial process led to a conviction. Wade Wilson was found legally responsible for the crimes he was charged with. The sentencing phase took into account the severity of the crimes, the loss suffered by victims' families, legal statutes governing punishment. Sentencing is not symbolic. It is not meant to satisfy online audiences or serve as spectacle. It is a structured legal response intended to balance justice, deterrence, and societal protection. The sentence imposed reflected the gravity of the offenses. After conviction, the case experienced an unusual secondary phenomenon. Rather than fading from attention, Wilson became the subject of online fascination. Visual edits, fan commentary, and personality-focused posts circulated widely on social platforms. This shift is not unique to this case. Research in criminology and media studies shows that repeated exposure, algorithmic amplification, and aesthetic framing can reshape public perception, even in the face of violent reality. In this environment, the victims can be forgotten, the harm can be minimized, the perpetrator can be reimagined. This is precisely why responsible coverage matters. Labels that reduce violent offenders to appearance-based identities create a dangerous narrative. They shift attention away from victims, normalize fascination with perpetrators, encourage parasocial attachment, risk copycat fixation in vulnerable individuals. YouTube, major news outlets, and academic experts have increasingly cautioned against repeating or amplifying such framing. This video intentionally avoids that language, not to censor reality, but to keep reality intact. At its core, the Wade Wilson case is not about notoriety or online narratives. It is about two women whose lives were taken, families permanently affected by loss, a justice system responding to extreme violence, a society grappling with how it consumes crime content. When a case becomes a meme, it loses meaning. When it is understood in context, it becomes a lesson. True crime content can educate, warn, and inform, but only when handled responsibly. Poorly framed content can traumatize victims' families, distort legal reality, incentivize harmful attention. Responsible content does the opposite. It slows down the narrative, it removes theatrics, it centers truth over intrigue. This case demonstrates why that responsibility matters more than ever. There is no mystery left in the Wade Wilson case. The facts are established, the legal process has concluded, the consequences are real. What remains is how society chooses to remember it. As education or entertainment, as warning or fascination, that choice matters. This video examined the Wade Wilson case, not to revive infamy, but to dismantle it. To replace distorted narratives with verified facts. To replace fixation with clarity. To replace spectacle with accountability. At the center of this story are victims whose lives mattered long before headlines did, remembering that truth is the most important outcome of any responsible discussion. Thank you for watching.